Hello my friends, welcome back. In this video tutorial, we will talk about get method in doubly linked list. We have already seen get method in singly linked list, but in doubly linked list, our code is little different. So let's see. Firstly, get method retrieve node by its position in linked list. And how our pseudocode exactly work? Let's see that. Firstly, we will define a function that accepts an index. Once we will have one index, we will simply check if our index is lesser than or our index is greater than or equal to length of the list. At that time, we will return null. But if our index is lesser than or equal to length divided by 2, at that time, we know that our node is closer to the starting point. So, we will loop from the starting towards the middle. Once we will get our node, we will simply return it. Then in the else part, our node is actually not closer to the starting point. That means our node is closer to the ending point. So we will loop from the ending towards the middle. And once we will found our node, we will simply return it. Some people may wonder, but suppose if node is not found, that cannot happen because we have already handled that condition in if index is lesser than 0 or index is greater than or equal to length of the list. With this, our pseudocode is complete. And how it actually works, let's understand that in our visual thing. So here, suppose I have provided index 1. At that time, I want 45 to be returned. If I will give 3, at that time, I want 1 to be returned as 1 is present on index number 3. But if I will provide some negative value, so at that time, it should return invalid kind of a thing. And then if our index is more than the length or equal to length, that is 4, at that time also it should return invalid. So that condition we have handled here when we are returning null. So in this way, we have actually understood what we want. So now it's time to start coding in Visual Studio. So let's go there. Here inside doubly linked list, we will create our get method. So let's start. Firstly, we will create get method and there we will pass index as the parameter. As per our pseudocode, it is saying define function that accept an index. That is done. Then if index is lesser than or index is greater than or equal to length of the list, then return null. So let's do that. For that we will simply do if index is lesser than 0 or our index is greater than or equal to this dot length. If so, we will simply return null. That means at that index nothing is present. Then in the else part or here also it is simply returning. So it will not go to the next line. So without else also we can write our things. So it is saying if index is lesser than or equal to length divided by 2. Loop from the starting towards middle and return node once it is found. For that, we will simply do if our index is less than or equal to this dot length divided by 2. Inside that, we will declare one variable called as count. That variable will be 0 in the beginning. Then we will define another variable called as current, which will keep track of current node, which will be this dot head in the beginning. Once that is done, we will go inside the while loop and we will simply do while count is not equal to our index, or we can make use of strict operator. Then inside that we will simply increment our current. So we will write current is equal to current dot next. Once that is done, then we will increment our count plus plus. So once our count will be equal to index, we will not go inside this and we can return our current value, which is the node which we want actually. And instead of returning node, we will return current dot value. Once our if condition is completed, we need to write our else condition. So as per our pseudocode, we will look from the ending towards middle and then we will return node once it is found. So we will write else and this time we will declare our count exact opposite. So actually we are starting from our last index and our current will be is equal to this dot tail. So our current pointer is pointing at the last value and our count is pointing at the last index value. We will simply go inside the while loop and there we will again check our count is not equal to index. Till that time we will actually keep on moving. Then here we will set current is equal to current dot previous. Okay, and after that we will simply do count minus minus. Once that is done, we will simply return our current dot value. So with this our get method is ready. Once our get method is ready, we need to call it. So let's go down. Here we have three values 1, 2 and 3. Firstly, I will call doubly linked list dot get. Inside that I will give 1 and index 1 our value 2 is present. So we should get 2 as an output. And to see things my console window, I will wrap up this inside console.log. Let's go to the browser now. Here we are able to see 2. That means our code is working properly. Let's try to give some invalid index. Here it is giving null. That means our code is working properly. Here we are returning our value only, not the complete node. But it will be much better if we will return the whole node so that it can be used in our set method or insert and the remove method. So instead of returning current dot value, we will return our whole node. So dot value I will remove for now. Once that is done, let's again try to see doubly linked list dot get and actually at index 1 what is present. So 2 as a node should be written. Yeah, here we are able to get node with value 2. That's perfectly fine. With this way, we will sum up our get method in doubly linked list. In our next video tutorial, we will talk about set method. Stay tuned in our next video tutorial. Thank you very much for now.